So good morning. We are going to start today's class in extended child's pose. So take your knees wide and your toes to touch. Drop your hips to your heels and then crawl your upper body out on the mat, lowering yourself down, resting your forehead on the mat. Arms are out long, but your shoulders are still dropping down the back. Hips are pulling towards the heels, but it's okay if they don't touch. You can close your eyes and start to draw your attention inwards. Let's take a cleansing breath together. So on an inhale through the nose, let's fill up the belly into the lungs, getting up into your chest. Sip in just a little bit more air, and then open mouth. Exhale, letting it all out. Doing that again, breathing in through the nose, inhaling through to the belly, up to the lungs, into your collarbones, maybe even rolling through the shoulders. Open mouth. Exhale, let it all out. One more time. Inhale through the nose, really, really big. Fill up that belly into the chest, into the shoulders. Open mouth. Exhale. I invite you to set an intention for today's practice, even if that's just to be present on the mat. Pressing into your left hand, lift your upper body up just enough to slide your right arm underneath, coming to lie down on your right shoulder and right temple. Keeping both hips grounded. Feeling a stretch between your shoulder blades. Try to breathe into the tension or the tightness you might feel in that upper back. And then pressing into the left hand, de-thread the right, reach it out long, and thread your left arm underneath your right, coming to lie down on your left shoulder and temple. Again, dropping your hips towards your heels. Shoulders are melting down your back and away from your ears. Breathing space in between your shoulder blades. De-thread the left arm. Slowly rising up. Find your way to tabletop position. Your wrists can come underneath your shoulders, hips underneath your knees, or you can step your hands out just a little bit if you have pain in your wrists. Let's do some circles, going over the wrists and then out to the side. Hips come back over the heels. We're just waking up both the wrist joints and our hip joints. So slow movements. And then reverse direction. And then coming to stillness in the center. Do some cat-cow. So on an inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Broadening across the chest, tailbone curling up. And then exhale, tucking under that tailbone, rolling the spine and belly up to the sky. Shoulders curling forward to the front of the mat. And shift your weight forward and back. Feeling a stretch all along the spine. And then taking a few, moving at your own breath. On the inhales, letting everything drop and open. And on the exhales, tucking it all under. Shoulders rolling to the front of the mat. Then coming to neutral spine. Walk your hands forward and your legs out, coming to lie down on your stomach. Elbows underneath your shoulders for Sphinx pose, toes pointed. Spread your hands out wide, gripping your finger pads and knuckles into the mat. Feel like the palm of your hand, though, is sucking up like a suction cup. You want to kind of have these active hands whenever we're doing anything on our hands, be it downward dog or tabletop. So this is a great place to practice it and stretch it out, pressing your forearms into the mat, being very active. And then once you feel like you're very grounded through the arms, roll those shoulders back and open, broadening across the chest. Elbows drawing towards your hips, hips drawing towards the elbows, thighs and shins pressing into the mat. And then lowering down, reach your right arm out wide like a T or like a cactus, depending on your space, and take your left hand underneath the elbow out at a 90 degree from your shoulder. Lie your right temple down on the mat, and I want you to just gently press into that left hand. Hips are staying grounded. Just seeing if you can kind of twist through those shoulder blades. Remembering to breathe and keep relaxed in the neck. And then coming to lie on your left temple, reach your left arm out like a cactus or a T, depending on your space. Right palm comes to the mat, just underneath your elbow, out to the side from your shoulder. Hips are grounded, and then press into that right hand, twisting specifically into the space between the shoulder blades. Coming back to center. Take those hands underneath you, finding Sphinx pose again. Broadening through the chest. Pulling your upper body out of the lower back. If you feel any crunching in your lower spine, you can move your elbows out a little bit and lower that upper body down. We never want to be crunching into the spine. We want to be creating space, so always modify as needed. And then taking your hands up underneath you, press yourself back up to tabletop. Shifting your weight into your left hand, inhale your right arm up to the sky, finding a twist. Try to keep your hips parallel and even square to the mat. And then drop your right hand down, shift your weight into your right hand. Inhale your left arm up to the sky. Again, trying to keep your hips square so that the twist is coming just through the shoulder blades. And then drop the left hand down. Keeping your hips over your knees, walk your upper body out, finding puppy dog pose. You can lower your forehead down to the mat. Try to keep your abs engaged so you're not just dumping into that lower spine. And really finding this through flexibility in the muscles. As you get a little further in the position, you can drop your chest lower and lift your gaze, maybe even taking your chin to the mat. And then slowly lifting out. Tuck your toes under if they aren't. Drop your hips to your heels. We're coming to kneeling. Stretching out the backs of the feet. If this is really uncomfortable for you, you can untuck your toes, but if you can handle it, it's a really good stretch. Our feet get really tight in our shoes. Interlace your hands together. We're just going to roll out the wrists. And switch directions.
Release the hands, interlace them behind your back or use a strap. Roll those shoulders open and lift the heart. Draw your hands slightly over to the right, leaning to the left. Dropping your left ear to your left shoulder. Bring back to center. And I'm only going slightly go to your left, so like my hands are coming to the other side of my booty, basically to my hips. And then right ear drops to right shoulder. Some of these stretches just need settle. Come back to center. Release your hands. Shake out your arms. Then bring your hands up, framing your head like cactus. On an inhale, draw that chest up. Shoulder blades pinching behind you. And then exhale like you're hugging a beach ball. Curl through the spine. Elbows and hands drawing towards each other. Inhale, open up. Exhale, curl. Great job. Take your hands down to your mat. Untuck those toes. Maybe even kick out those little toesies on the mat. Get some blood in them. And come to find a seated position. Crossing the opposite foot in front than you usually do. Inhale your arms up to the sky. Tuck your tailbone under. Engage your core. Drop your shoulders down the back, creating space between the shoulders and the ears. And then leaning over to your left, drop your left hand down to the mat, reach your right arm up and over. Keeping that right hip grounded, maybe even taking your gaze under the right armpit. And inhale, coming back to center, both arms above the head. Exhale, take the right arm down to the mat. Reach the left arm up and over. Keeping that left hip grounded. Gaze can come under the left armpit towards the ceiling. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, take your right hand behind you and your left hand to your right knee. Inhale to sit up really tall, and then exhale, looking over that right shoulder. Finding a twist. Inhale, release the twist. Both arms come up overhead. Exhale, twisting to the opposite side, taking your left hand behind you. Right hand to the left knee. Inhale to sit up really tall. And then exhale and twist. Inhale, come back to center. Reach your arms up overhead. Then reach them out in front of you. Whichever leg you have in front goes underneath. So my left foot is in front, my left arm's going underneath. Cross again at the forearms or the palms. Lift the elbows up to shoulder height, and then press your hands away from you. So we're trying to find 90 degrees here all over the body. So we're lifting the elbows up to shoulder height and pressing the hands away to see if we can get a really nice eagle pose here. Oops, I switched my legs. If you feel good here, draw the elbows into the chest as you fold over the legs, maybe even dropping your forehead to the wrists, allowing that weight to just rest. Pressing into those hands as firmly as you can is really going to enhance the stretch between the shoulders. And then inhale, rising up, reach your arms out wide like a T, and switch the cross of your legs so that now your normal leg is in front. Reach your arms in front of you. Cross whichever leg now is in front, underneath. Coming across again at the hands or at the wrists. Lift the elbows up to shoulder height. Press the hands away from you. Again, the stronger you press into the hands, the more you're going to feel this between the shoulder blades. And then drawing the elbows into the belly as you fold over the legs, maybe even dropping the forehead onto the wrists if it makes it there. It's okay if it does not. Allow your hips to roll open, creating space for your upper body to come through. Release the hands, reach them out wide like a T, rising up. Take your hands behind your hips and lift your heart, finding just a mini back bend. I like to be on my fingertips so I can really create some extra space here. Great job. And then interlace your hands behind your back. Take them over to that left hip, kicking your left elbow out. And drop your left ear to that left elbow. Or left shoulder. Left ear to left shoulder. Only turning your chin and your gaze, look down towards the left knee. And then lifting the head back to center. Reach your arms behind you, and then take them over to the right side of your body, resting the back of the left hand against the left side body. Right elbow kicking out. Drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. Seeing if you can drop that left shoulder down your back a little bit further even. Consciously creating extra space and length in the neck. And then turning only your chin and your gaze, look towards your right knee. Release the hands, shake them out. Place them in front of you, rolling over the legs. We're finding our way to forward fold, so uncrossing them. Lifting the hips. Feet can be about shoulder width apart. Nice bend in the knees. Draping the upper body over the legs. I like to kind of move and wiggle in some of these first times we enter these poses, just to like get my body out of the joints. So there's no good direction. It's just sort of like shifting my weight, letting things flow and move. So take whatever small movements kind of let you feel like you're pulling out of joints and creating that space. Grabbing onto opposite elbows, find ragdoll pose. Shifting the weight forward so that you're in the ball mounts of your feet. This lets you get deeper into the hamstrings. When it comes to finding flexibility in the legs and the hips, it really is a breathing game. So you get into these positions, and then you breathe very consciously, very aware. You can play with the inhales and exhales of the spine. So inhale, you straighten that spine, finding, a long spine, and then exhale, you fold a little deeper. And then release the hands, taking them to your shins or your thighs as high as you need to go to find a flat back. So we want a halfway lift, tucking that tailbone so we have really a good straight line through the spine. I don't want to see any droopy backs like this. Nice and firm, core engaged, gazes not below you. It's just slightly back towards your toes so we can create length in the back of the neck as well. And although my legs look straight, we never lock out the joints. There's a slight bend in the knees so that my muscles around the knees are engaged. And then exhale, forward fold, releasing the upper body down. Slowly rolling up to mountain pose, going one vertebrae at a time, letting your shoulders, neck, and head be the last to come up, and then bringing the hands up overhead, palms facing each other, dropping those shoulders down the back, tailbone tucks, abs engaged. Bring the hands together overhead, palms touching, lift up a little bit higher, clarifying through your feet, maybe wiggle those toes, make sure everything's grounded. Lean over to the right, stretching along the left side body. Grounding through the left foot. Inhale, come back to center. Lean over to the left. Grounding through that right foot, stretching the right side body. Inhale, come back to center. Find just a slight back bend, dropping your hands behind you. Tailbone is tucking, chest is lifting. And then exhale, pulling the hands through heart center, finding your way to a forward fold. Plant your hands and step your left foot back. We're going to find warrior one, so you want your left foot at a 45-degree angle. Toes are pointing out to the outside edge of your mat. Feet are hip width apart. Hips are both facing the front of your mat. Bending into that front knee, but we don't want the knee to go past the ankle, so 90 degrees at most. Take your hands to your hips and inhale to rise up. Tailbone is tucking. If you need to adjust the stance to bring that back foot in at all, you are welcome to it. Again, making sure those hips are both shooting through the front of your mat. Bending into that front knee, inhale the arms up overhead, palms facing each other. You want to be pressing into the knife edge of both feet in this pose. Bring the palms together overhead. Maybe even lifting the gaze, finding that length from the left heel all the way out through the fingertips. Tailbone tucking, hips pressing forward. And then open up, adjust your feet, finding warrior two. Back foot is parallel to the short edge of your mat. Your front foot is facing forward. Heel is dissecting the arch of the back foot. Hips to the side of the mat and arms come out wide like a T. Gaze goes over those front right fingers. Bending into that front knee, not taking it past a 90. Really trying to draw that right knee to the outside of your mat. Don't let it cave in. We want it pulling out. Drop your left hand to your left thigh. Flip the right palm up to the sky and inhale, arm up overhead, finding reverse warrior. And then exhale, take the right forearm to the right thigh. Left arm up overhead, finding extended side angle. You're welcome to drop your hand down to a block or the mat if that feels good for you. You want to stack those shoulders and maybe even take your gaze up. Hips are rolling open and trying to stack as well. Pressing in the knife edge of that left foot. And then dropping the left hand down to the mat, come onto the toes of the back foot. Toe ball the right foot out to the side, finding a runner's lunge. You can shift the weight back and forth if you'd like. Find a little movement. Also option to drop that back knee down if that feels better for you. Wherever you're at, take your right hand to the outside of that right foot, toe ball it back to center. Step your left foot in so that it's about 2 to 3 feet apart from the front foot, hip width apart, both toes are facing forward. We're straightening through both legs, hips are squaring off to the front for pyramid pose. So you're welcome to come up if you need to adjust your body at all getting into this. But yeah, feet are hip distance, both feet forward, melting that upper body over the front leg. You can use blocks or a chair here if you need to lift up higher. You want to feel your right hip drawing back and your left hip pulling forward, so we're not opening to the side of the mat. You really want to pull that right hip back, left hip forward, actively squaring to the front. And then bending into that front knee, step the left foot forward to meet the right. Legs together, drop the hips, tuck the tailbone, and inhale the upper body up, finding chair pose. You want the weight shifting to the back so that you're in your heels. You could maybe even look down and see those toes of yours. Tailbone tucked. Bring the hands together overhead, pull them through heart center, forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step the right foot back, finding warrior one. So again, we want a 45-degree angle with that back foot. Feet are about hip width apart. Both are facing the front of the mat. Take your hands to your hips and inhale to rise. Adjusting your stance as you need to, pressing into the knife edge of both feet, tucking that tailbone. Inhale the arms up overhead for warrior one. Bring the palms together, maybe even finding a mini back bend, enhancing that stretch from the right heel and outside edge of right foot all the way through the fingertips. And then opening up, adjust your stance to find warrior two. Back foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat, front foot forward. Heel dissecting the arch of the back foot, arms come wide like a T. Dropping your shoulders down the back. Bending into that front knee, but not taking the knee past the heel. Try to stack your upper body over your hips. Gaze can go over those front fingertips. Then drop the right hand down to the right thigh, flip the left palm up to the sky, and inhale, reverse the warrior. Keeping your legs just as they are. See if you can create length in the left hip. And then exhale, taking left forearm to left thigh. Inhale the right arm up overhead, finding extended side angle. Welcome to take your hand down to a block or the mat. Rolling those shoulders open, lifting your gaze to the sky. And then take the right hand down to the mat. Come onto the toes of the back foot, toe ball the left foot to the outside edge of your mat, finding runner's lunge. Welcome to stay here, drop the back knee. You can move forward and back, finding space in the hips. Again, in the legs and the hips, it's all about breathing and relaxing rather than fighting. So if you're in a place where you feel tension and shortness of breath and you're fighting it, come out. You're not doing yourself any good. You're fighting yourself. And then taking the left hand to the outside of the left foot, toe ball that left foot into the center of the mat. Shift your weight towards that front foot, stepping the back foot in so it's about 2 to 3 feet apart from your front foot. Feet are hip width distance and both toes are facing the front of the mat. Legs are straight. Again, if you want to rise up to adjust your stance at all, you're welcome to do so. And melting the upper body forward. Again, talking about the hips, we don't want the left hip going forward and the right hip going back so that I open to the side. We really want to pull that right hip forward, left hip back. Pressing actively through the back heel. Maybe dropping my forehead towards shin. And then beginning to bend generously into the left foot or left leg, step the right foot to meet the left. Bend into those knees, drop the tailbone, inhale up, chair pose. Tucking the tailbone, lifting the chest. Slowly rise all the way up to standing. Turn towards the wide edge of your mat. Step your feet wide. Feet are parallel. We're going to find a wide leg forward fold, so tilting the tailbone forward, leading with the heart. Melt the upper body down. Weight should be in the ball mounts of your feet. You can adjust your feet as you're feeling for today. Welcome to use blocks or a chair to lift yourself up. Wherever you're at, see if you can find a halfway lift at a straight spine. So lifting up, you can use a block or a chair to come a little bit higher. Welcome to stay here, or plant your right hand underneath your face and inhale the left arm up to the sky, finding a twist. You want your left hip pulling down and your right hip pulling up. And then switching, take your left hand down to your place. Inhale the right arm up to the sky. Taking it back to center. Toe ball your feet in so that they're about shoulder width apart. Toes out, heels in. Drop the hips down, finding Malasana. You can keep your hands on the mat or bring in a prayer pose, pressing your elbows to the insides of the knees. Tailbone's dropping, chest is lifting. Maybe you move back and forth. I know I like to come to this pose a lot, but it's a really good one that we do not work into our lives very much at all, but it's so good for opening the hips and releasing tightness in that tailbone area and that lower back. You can create a lot of space doing this. So maybe even start to work it into your day, sometimes finding your way to this position. I think you'll find a lot of relief in any lower back pain you might be having. And then drop the hands down to the mat. Toe ball those feet together, lifting the hips. Rolling up one vertebrae at a time. Arms swinging wide and up overhead. Palms to face each other. Hands come together to heart. Hands come together and then drop them down to heart center. Taking the back of the thumbs to rest on the chest bone. Close your eyes. Drop those shoulders down your back. Tuck your tailbone. Engage the core. Rock forward and back in your feet. And settle into the center. Rock your hips forward and back. And settle in the center. Take your shoulders forward, rolling them. And then back, drawing the shoulder blades together, pinching behind you, opening through the chest. And settle in that center. Drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. Lift it back up, left ear, left shoulder. Lift it back up. Allow your mind to settle. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this morning's practice. I hope you feel alert and ready for your day, stretching out any nighttime stiffness. Take your thumbs to your third eye, sealing the practice with a bow. Namaste. Have a wonderful day.